Good morning and welcome. You're watching Times Now. My name is Amita Vadva. You're waking up to this breaking update that is now coming in. What was being anticipated has now been done on part of the oil marketing companies, which have now raised the petrol and diesel prices by rupees 3 per litre each, passing on part of the recent surge in the global energy prices to consumers. However, this is still a modest hike as to what was being anticipated to be a steep hike. But as a result, petrol will now retail at 97.77 rupees per litre, while diesel will be now priced as 99.67 rupees per litre. And this revision marks a notable move after weeks of volatile crude markets that have put pressure on domestic fuel pricing as well, and the increase that reflects the adjustments to align retail rates with rising international crude oil and product prices, as well as currency fluctuations as well. Well, this is coming in from the Prime Minister, who had first been issuing the request and the appeal as well when it comes to reducing the fuel consumption, along with others, which will actually mark when it comes to saving up on your forex. But in the meantime, the global benchmark that has been firming up the rupee under pressure, companies meanwhile have to recalibrate the pump prices to bridge the import cost gap. Let's connect with the reporters on ground as well. Nyamika, well, the people are now waking up to rising price in petrol and diesel, 3 rupees that has now been announced.
Well, yes, indeed, Amita. We have seen in the past that it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who had made an appeal to the nation of this country to reduce the usage of petrol and diesel amid this entire energy crisis, which is currently going on due to the war between Iran and United States. And now, as earlier also it was being predicted that the petrol prices may go up. And now it is being announced that both petrol and diesel prices have gone up by rupees 3. In the national capital, the current rate of petrol is 97.77. On the other side, diesel is currently at 90.67. Right now, we are also standing here at petrol pump. However, due to it is an early morning, there are not many people who have been, lined up here. Currently, this entire petrol pump is empty. But very soon, we are also going to see that how it is going to make an impact upon the people's life. As you can see in the visuals as well, that it is also being mentioned here very clearly that the petrol as well as the diesel prices have now been changed, as currently the petrol prices are at 97.54, while on the other side the diesel prices are 90.82, which is being mentioned here. So it will be really interesting to be seen that how much impact it is going to create upon the people's lives. Already the politics has started over this entire matter. We have seen that how the opposition had also criticized the government of India, stating that they have completely failed to tackle this entire crisis, as earlier it should have been done on the part of the government of India to take some kind of effort so that it won't make an impact upon the people's life. But that was not being done, and that is the only reason why now we have seen that how the opposition has already begun criticizing the government regarding this entire matter.
Well, live reactions coming in. Let's dip in.
लड़ाई झगड़ा खत्म हो जाए तो उस समय फिर सीएनजी का दाम वहीं पे रख दे, क्योंकि हर आदमी परेशान है। ऐसी बात नहीं कि कोई परेशान नहीं है, चाहे बड़ा हो या छोटा हो। बड़े लोगों की तो बात अलग है, उनका तो अलग चल जाता है, लेकिन हम जैसे बंदों का बहुत बुरा हाल होता है। अभी कितना रेट बढ़ चुका है? अभी तो मैंने ध्यान दिया नहीं, 2 रुपए के आसपास बढ़ा है शायद।
Mr. Virappa Moily is also connected with us on the phone line. Sir, good morning. How would you react as far as when it comes to this was being anticipated, a hike in fuel prices?
We all anticipated that these people are going to do it, but but government was taken away because they have mismanagement of the foreign affairs and mismanagement of the petroleum policy, and they are hiding, suppressing everything till the election is over, and suddenly raising it. They are really taken the people for a ride.
But you are also someone, sir, who advocated when it comes to increased domestic exploration and in the active pursuit of international oil assets as well.
And they are totally neglected the internal exploration, and the many sources were available. In fact, when I was a petroleum minister, I declared that by 2030. India is capable of making itself self-sufficient in oil products. and they have stopped everything. Even the crude oil stock is concerned. During my period, we constructed 3 caverns which is requirement of over 2-3 months. And the one in Vizag, another in Mangalore, third one was in...
Right. But Mr. Moily, how do the oil companies then cover up on the damages that has been incurred, sir?
And they have not taken even a single step, to construct the additional 3 caverns. And if they were to construct additional 3 caverns, it would have met the 3 months requirement.
But, sir, on part of the government side, they have been saying that there have enough reserves. We are relatively in a stable position. And as far as this hike is concerned, it is relatively modest.
They have been telling during the election time and even thereafter. And so then in that case, why should they do it? Yeah, so, that means to say it is the most irresponsible management of the affairs of the government.
Yes, sir, because you've been also advocating for more independent and robust energy policy as well. What would you have to say on that?
And they have not taken even a single step up in pursuance to that. Even I worked out a program called the TAPI, which would have fulfilled the requirement of our entire gas requirement. Even that TAPI project, which Kazakhstan, with Turkestan and Afghanistan, Pakistan, the agreement was drawn and the work commenced, and they halted that process also. Also, otherwise, the cheapest and the adequate gas would have been made available.
Yes,
like that, they have just relaxed. They sat on the.
But how do you believe that the government, Mr. Moily, would then manage the financial implication of the oil imports and encourage efficiency in the sector? Because the oil companies have been incurring losses at a large scale.
Yeah, a lot of in fact 1,000 crores. Per annum, they are incurring losses. Oil companies.
Yes, sir.
And practically they have become bankrupt. And in fact, our oil companies have been robust, and all public sector companies have been doing extremely well. And we had no problem at all, and they were making profit. Now everything is under decline.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Moily, for your point of view. Of course, as the former union minister there, he's putting out his views, raising concerns, of course, when it comes to India's oil reserves as well. Mr. Lokesh is also connected with us, Lokesh Jindal, who is a financial expert. Mr. Lokesh, how do you view as far as this hike in petrol and diesel prices that has been done by the oil companies, sir?
Yes, good morning, everybody. See, these are the global prices right now. But if you look at India's position, our CPI retail inflation is still 3.48%. So this hike in the petrol price is bound to increase the inflation rate, which shall exceed 5.56%. But still there is a elbow room for the government to initiate monetary policies and thereby do some correction and keep that particular within the inflation targeting zone. So I would say yes, for a short-term period, there are going to be there is a shock, as has been stated by a lot of experts. Even the Prime Minister appealed to the people to resort to austerity measure. But in time to come, we shall see that there shall be a contraction in demand. The market shall be responding negatively towards it. There shall be a correction in the monetary policy as well. But presently, I do not see any indicator that is showing a sign of panic or sign of too much worry.
Yes.
But if this problem persists over a long time, let's say 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, at that point of time, there would be a lot of corrections needed in the macroeconomic policy as well.
So, Mr. Jindal, do you believe that this is just a staggered hike? We are looking at more hikes that could be possible. I mean, this is something that the government previously had not ruled out. However, saying that, we are not short when it comes to on the supply side. The country has more than enough stocks of crude oil, LNG and LPG.
Yes. Yes, see, if we talk about the petrol diesel prices, it directly impacts the consumer basket. For example, Amul just yesterday it had increased the milk prices by 2 rupees per litre. And we will see with respect to vegetables, supplies and transportation, everything with the increase in petrol and crude oil prices, they shall start rising. The basket shall witness a increase in the prices. And this is going to pinch especially those who are the wage rate workers.
Absolutely, sir, because already live reactions that have been coming in, they are not very happy because as far as fuel costs, if it goes up, then means transportation, then essential amenities, all of that then will add to the inflation. Thank you very much, Mr. Jindal, for your point of view. We also play out what the Petroleum Minister, Hardeep Puri, had said, because he's been mentioning that in the last 4 years, there has been no increase in prices. But today we are in a situation where, unlike other countries in the world, we have either, have to face severe problems in terms of availability or supply, or the prices which have gone up to nearly 50 to 60%. But we have no supply side problems. The country has more than enough stocks of crude oil, LNG and LPG.
Let me tell you categorically, we have no supply side problems. Today, the country has more than enough stocks of crude oil, LNG and LPG. We have ramped up our domestic production of LPG, which used to be 36,000 metric tons per day. We have now taken it up to 54,000 metric tons per day. And also, be very clear that this prolongation of this is creating a fiscal strain. My oil companies are losing 1,000 crores a day. Their under recoveries are in the tune of nearly 1,98,000.
So as Hina and Nyamika continue to be with us, and we are trying to get live reactions also from the consumers there this morning at the petrol pumps, because they are now waking up to this news. And, when it comes to, Hina, the concerns that have been raised, and this is something that we were speaking to the former Petroleum Minister, Mr. Virappa Moily, how India has now worked up when it comes to talking about a robust energy policy. Now, the current Petroleum Minister seems to be suggesting that for now we are in a relatively stable position.
Well, that is the reason why, the government could shield the consumers for so long. Remember, the war started on 28th of February, and till 14th of May, the oil marketing companies could sustain, even though they were bearing a huge amount of losses, by not passing on the burden to the consumers, but they could still shield the consumers for a very long time. But now, clearly, it is unsustainable, and that is the reason why the oil marketing companies have increased the petrol and diesel prices by around 3 rupees per litre. This is the biggest news this morning that we've got for our viewers, and anyone who was perhaps waiting, for getting the tank full or getting fuel, in their vehicle, will have to pay more this morning onwards, because effective immediately, the petrol as well as diesel prices in the country have gone up by about 3 rupees per litre. Now, this is a big news that has come. It is definitely going to impact the, monthly budgets of the Aam Aadmi. It is going to make other things quite expensive as well, because with diesel going up, your cost of transportation will go up. That will translate into higher inflation. Already, inflation has started rising in the country. So things are going to get expensive. And this was expected, Amita. This was on the anvil. This is what we've been talking about. Signs were always there. The oil minister himself had mentioned that the companies are currently bearing a loss of about 1,000 rupees crore per day. Now, that cannot really go on for a very long time. I mean, if you look at the prices of petrol and diesel, they are linked to the market. They cannot be controlled by government or by any mechanism.
Yes, so we're not just looking at the price hike of petrol and diesel. We have another update. Well, the price of CNG has also gone up, at least by 2 rupees. That is a breaking update we are getting for our viewers now. So the prices of CNG, that has also gone up. We are looking at this development this Friday morning on the 15th of May, where the price hike that has now been increased, and petrol prices that rose from 94.77 to 97.81. Diesel has increased from 87.6 90.67 to 90.71, marking a hike of a little over 3 rupees per litre. However, Nyamika, CNG prices that have also gone up. If you can try and to speak, many of the taxi drivers who have been using CNG, that we are also looking at a hike of at least 2 rupees.
Well, Amita, firstly, I would like to mention that these are the consumers. They have just come here at petrol pump to get some diesel for their cars. Let us go across to these people, sir. जिस तरीके से 3 रुपए बढ़ा है पेट्रोल और डीजल दोनों पे, और इनफैक्ट सीएनजी पर भी बता रहे हैं कि अब 2 रुपए की बढ़ोतरी हो गई है. कितना बड़ा फर्क ये आप लोगों पे पड़ने वाला है, और क्या एक्सपेक्टेड था आप लोगों की तरफ से भी कि ऐसा होगा?
हाँ, एज एक्सपेक्टेड मैडम, पता था कि बढ़ना ही है, लेकिन ये है कि देश हित में अगर बढ़ भी रहा है तो कोई ऐसी दिक्कत नहीं है हमें. अब बढ़ रहा तो देखेंगे. पेट्रोल तो जो पहले डलवाते थे वैसे ही अब डलवाना पड़ेगा, लेकिन ये है कि पब्लिक सफर करती है, सभी मुद्दों पर करती है. महंगाई तो बढ़ी रही है, हर चीज़ पर बढ़ रही है. भाई 1000 रुपये आप ये समझ लें पर मंथ की हमारी मतलब खर्चा बढ़ जाएगा, और ऐसा लग रहा है कि आने वाले टाइम में ये 3 रुपये नहीं है तो आप ये समझ लीजिए और बढ़ेंगे तो 110 रुपये हो जाएगा. जो मतलब न्यूज़ पे हम देख रहे हैं और जो मोदी साहब बोल रहे हैं 110 रुपये जाएगा ये.
पहले से ही मेंटली प्रिपेयर है.
हाँ, ये तो बिल्कुल हाँ, ये होगा, ये बढ़ना ही होना है. क्योंकि देखिए आप जब क्राइसिस हैं, आपका जो क्रूड ऑयल है वो डबल हो चुका है, तो ये तो बढ़ना ही बढ़ना है. इसमें कुछ नहीं कर सकते. ये तो अब क्या करें, बस ये कि सरकार थोड़ा बहुत कुछ कर दे कि ये कि थोड़ा सा और इसको स्टेबल रखे. थोड़ा ये कि अपना, क्योंकि हर चीज इस पे डिपेंड है. चाहे आपका कोई भी सामान है, खाने पीने का सामान है, कुछ भी चीज़ है, वो सब इस पे डिपेंड है. तो थोड़ा सा सरकार को कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, जिससे कि सब चीज़ें लोगों को बिल्कुल सही रेट पे मिल जाएं, और जिससे कि ये है कि सब चीज़ें नॉर्मल चलती रहें. वरना फिर लोग हंगामा करेंगे, ये करेंगे, ये होगा फिर
आप लोग की पॉकेट पे भी क्योंकि फर्क पड़ेगा इस चीज का. 3 रुपए अभी बढ़ा है, तो उसको लेकर आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
ऑब्वियस है मैडम, फर्क तो पड़ता ही है. 3-3 रुपए करके अगर हम पेट्रोल डलवाते रहेंगे और बढ़ेंगे तो हर चीज़ पे फर्क पड़ता है. आज पेट्रोल पे पड़ रहा है, फिर सब्जियों पर पड़ेगा. हर चीज़ के लिए पेट्रोल चाहिए.
Thank you so much. So that you have heard the voices from the ground. They are stating it very clearly that they also want to make an appeal to the government that they should also take some steps so that it won't make this kind of an effect upon the pockets of the common man.
So stability is something that what the consumers are seeking. Mr. Sharad Kohli is also connected with us. Sharad, this morning people are now waking up to the news of a hike in fuel prices. This was said to be anticipated. However, it is still, would you regard that it is still a modest hike, in comparison to other countries which has already witnessed a steep hike?
Good morning, Amita, to you and the viewers. Yes, it is indeed very, very modest, because if you look at the under-recovery being made by the oil marketing companies, which particularly in case of diesel, it's very, very high. I mean, it could be as high as 15 to 20 rupees. So 3 rupees something is bare minimum that the government could have done, OMCs could have done at this point of time. I just see the crude prices as the screen is working in front of me. It's 107.46 per barrel, which is that is in terms of dollars, which means as compared to yesterday, it was again shot up because the meeting between President Trump and Xi Jinping so far hasn't produced any magical results as of now as far as opening of Strait of Hormuz is concerned. Some mixed statements coming. But I think 30,000 crores of monthly loss being incurred by the oil marketing companies. Obviously, this had to come. I think people were prepared, and Prime Minister's appeals made over the last few days, the 7 appeals that he made, to ask people to work from home, to ask the schools to go online, people to conduct virtual meetings, start using electric vehicles. So I think all these things did indicate that something is coming in terms of policy. We saw gold, duty being raised. Last night we saw restrictions on import of more than 100 kilos of gold by duty-free categories. So I think all the appeals that he made, they are now shaping up into policies, and it is time that people should probably modify their lifestyle.
Yes.
As far as possible. Not everybody can probably change the lifestyle. There are people who have to be on the road at all times.
Yes.
But then whosoever can do, even small savings made by people, it will save their own budgets. It will also save countries' precious forest reserves at this point of time. So I think a very tough situation. In fact,
But Sharad, do you believe that there has been a considerable amount of time by the government?
Threat as far as the world is concerned. Well, for the people who don't understand what is stagflation,
but Sharad, do you believe that a considerable amount of time
gets impacted because the countries don't grow, the GDP doesn't grow?
Yes.
On the other side, you're hit by inflation as well. It's a very dangerous economic situation that the world seems to be spiraling into at this point in time. And I hope Strait of Hormuz opens soon. And as far as the hike on petrol, diesel is concerned, well, this is definitely not the last one from the quantum that I can see.
Yes.
So things not like...
Because the amount of losses that has been incurred, on part of the oil companies, we don't know if this is going to be the first of many, or there are going to be other hikes that are also coming, in the days. But Sharad, do you believe that the government, in a way, for so long, as far as this conflict is concerned, has still managed to cushion the impact? We don't know if, the questions that have been raised by the opposition, that is something that they have been using to their benefit. But has the government, in a way, managed to convert the challenge into an opportunity, especially when it comes to ramping up a domestic production of LPG?
Well, it has. I think domestic LPG production has gone up to 60% of the total country's requirement, which is a very, very phenomenal achievement, I would say. But see, as far as opposition is concerned, obviously it's their job to catch on to anything which is where the people do suffer the pain because of this. But I think the people at large in India are maturing, and I think responsible channels like you have been trying to convey to the people that situation around the world is not looking very good. Look at America, which is the largest producer of oil.
Yes.
In their own country, in many of the states, gasoline, they call it here, we call it petrol and diesel. That has gone up to more than $5 per gallon. They measure in liters, they measure in gallons.
Yes.
So even they have to suffer, whereas they're producing the highest quantum of oil within their country. So I think from Australia to America, from Europe to Africa, there are very, very few countries.
So no knee-jerk decisions. The government has been preparing the people already. This was being expected, and this is something now we are looking at this Friday morning. All of the policy decisions that has been taken by the government side. Sharad, thank you very much for joining in. Hina, the policy decisions now seems to be taking shape. Live reactions coming in. Let's dip in. Well, Hina, that seems to be the case because the consumers have been saying that they don't have much of a choice because they have to continue buying fuel out of necessity, even if the prices have increased. But they are, however, demanding that there should be an uninterrupted supply at least.
Well, absolutely. As far as the oil minister is concerned, we heard a statement from the oil minister also earlier, wherein he said that there is no supply issue at all. It is basically the losses the oil marketing companies are seeing at this point in time, and that is the reason why it has become very, very important for the oil marketing companies to pass on this burden to the Aam Aadmi eventually, because petrol and diesel prices are linked to the market. According to the reports and what the government had mentioned earlier, Amita, the oil companies, in fact, were losing around 20 rupees per litre on sale of petrol. They were losing around 100 rupees per litre on the sale of diesel. Remember, on 27th of March, the Finance Ministry had issued a notification wherein the Finance Ministry had announced that it is slashing the excise duty on petrol as well as diesel by 10 rupees per litre.
Yes.
So some cushion was given to the oil marketing companies on 27th of March. That's when the, Aam Aadmi was protected. Otherwise, this hike that we are seeing today would have been much higher. So 10 rupees cushion the oil marketing companies on 27th of March, and finally some, burden has been passed on to the consumers today. 3 rupees per litre has been the increase in prices for petrol as well as diesel. But many are saying this is just the beginning. In the days to come, the prices are going to go up even further because the uncertainty around, West Asia, the Middle East tensions are still continuing. So we do not know for how long this crisis is going to go on. So that's the reason why this is just the beginning. But let me tell you, the government was preparing the country for a day like this. Remember, this is the reason why the Prime Minister also came out with, with an appeal to the citizens that citizens should look at reducing their fuel, consumption, and that is going to be prudent going forward because India is an oil importing country, and that is the reason why we need to conserve our fuel to protect our economy as well. Because the prices will have to go up because the input is input cost is going up. If Brent crude prices are going up, then the oil marketing companies will have to pass it on to the consumers, and that's exactly what has happened today.
Absolutely, and this was being anticipated, that was being expected. Well, Nyamika, coming back on that, because you've been speaking to the people there, working professionals have also expressed concern, saying that the higher fuel costs would also severely affect the middle class households, the transport and their business activities.
Well, yes, this news is now coming in that even the CNG prices have also gone up. We are right now standing here at a petrol pump, as there are certain people who have come here to get the petrol and diesel from here. Let us try to speak to them that what is their reaction, whether they were also expecting this. Sir, आज यहाँ पर आप पेट्रोल लेने के लिए आए, जिस तरीके से पेट्रोल के रेट जो है वो 3 रुपए से बढ़ गए हैं, क्या एक्सपेक्टेड था ये, क्या आपको उम्मीद थी कि ऐसा होने वाला है पहले से?
कि मैम मोदी ने घोषणा करी, होने वाला था 5 रुपए डीजल और पेट्रोल।
3 रुपए सर आज ये बढ़ा है, कितना बड़ा असर आपकी पॉकेट पे पड़ेगा इस चीज का?
मैम पॉकेट पे तो पड़ेगा ही।
सरकार से कुछ कहना चाहते हैं इस बारे में?
मैम इसमें क्या कहना चाहिए, मजदूर की पॉकेट कट रही है, मजदूर की पॉकेट पे फर्क पड़ रहा है, गरीब आदमी पे फर्क पड़ रहा है।
Let us try to speak to other people as well. भैया, आपने भी अभी पेट्रोल लिया है, जिस तरीके 3 रुपए बढ़ गया है पेट्रोल का दाम, क्या कहना चाहेंगे, कितना बड़ा प्रभाव पड़ने वाला है आपकी पॉकेट पर?
मैं कुछ नहीं कहना चाहता मैं।
So the reaction which we have got, as there are some people who are basically stating that it is going to make a huge impact upon their pockets, and they were also expecting this kind of a move coming in from the past few days as well. They are also stating that it was quite expected after the Prime Minister had made an appeal to the people of this country to reduce the usage of petrol and diesel. We would also like to speak to other people as well. Sir, you have also come here to buy petrol, as the prices have gone up by ₹3. Anything you want to say? Was it an expectation?
Actually, it was not a surprise. We were already aware of it, that something of this sort is going to happen, because it was all over the social media, right? That the prices are going to increase, and it may further increase as well. This is just the starting. There are other things which is going to have a domino effect of having increased rates of petrol and diesel. So obviously, the rest of the things which we are using on a daily basis will also get increased.
Anything you want to say to the government, any appeal you would like to make, because it is surely going to make an impact upon your pockets as well?
No, absolutely. I think government must be taking all the required measures from their side. That's what I think, that's what we expect from our leaders to do, right? We have chosen them, so I'm sure they will do whatever is best in the favor of the country.
Thank you. So that we have got the reaction from the ground regarding as the petrol
that seems to be the awareness on ground that you are seeing, because consumers have had no choice, but as far as when it comes to the fuel hike is concerned, they are aware and they are prepared, saying that the government had timely informed them, and they know that how bad the situation is in the Middle East, something which is beyond our control. However, when it comes to cushioning the impact and immediate impact on the consumers, that the government has so far protected and shielded the people. But there are customers who seems to be now defending the possibility of this price hike, saying that any decision which is taken in national interest must be supported. So what was earlier being said, that there would be a steep hike going up to 5 to even 10 to 15 rupees, that hasn't happened so far. We're looking at ₹3, which has been hiked in petrol and diesel prices. CNG also now going up by 2 rupees. Also, we are looking at Mr. Santosh. Thank you very much for joining in. What is your understanding? India currently has more than adequate reserves of key energy supplies, but this was being anticipated and expected on part of fuel prices to be hiked.
May I just remind you, ma'am, that I'm not Mr. Santosh. I'm a professor of economics and I've been in the Planning Commission. So I know a little bit about these things at the policy level.
All right. Apologies, sir. Yes, sir.
May I also then remind you that while there seems to be a sense of inevitability about this, there's nothing inevitable about the decision that the government takes. Because government has had a 30 lakh crore windfall gain over the last 10 or 12 years on account of the fact that global oil prices have been systematically below $60 a barrel. And I was expecting that the government would react by increasing petrol prices. Thank God it has. However, there is absolutely no reason for the government to not absorb the cost of diesel, because diesel is going to feed in to the cost of production of a whole series of goods, because it is a means of transportation of trucks. In our country, most of the goods across the country are not transported by rail as they should be. What happens is that they are transported by truck, and trucks use diesel.
Right.
And this is going to lead to an inflationary spiral. Already the rupee has been falling dramatically. It has fallen by 5 rupees over the last 3 months from before the war. So therefore, there was no reason, absolutely no reason. I've been making this case on your channel and a multiplicity of other channels. No reason to raise the price of diesel, because this speaks volumes for the incompetence of the policymakers in the Ministry of Finance or wherever else this decision is being taken.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for your point of view. Of course, when it comes to the policy decisions there, that is now coming into shape. We're looking at multiple other reactions that has been coming in. However, there is still no need to panic, and the situation there seems to be adequate on part of the reserves of key energy supplies, including what is being said, 60 days of crude oil stock, 60 days of LNG and 45 days of LPG. That ensures that there is an uninterrupted supply across the country.
The government has reduced excise duty to take on some of the burden, and some of the burden through a price cap the OMCs are right now bearing. But if this is to continue for a longer period of time, it's already, about 75 days, 75 days, it's a matter of time that the government will actually pass on some of these price increases.
So, Hina, the government has been closely monitoring the situation. There has been urging the people and the consumers against any panic buying, but there has been a voluntary moderation in certain activities if the crisis prolongs. So, how prepared is the government?
Well, what we can tell you, Amita, is that the government was preparing the people of this country for this inevitability, for this price rise as far as petrol and diesel prices are concerned. Remember earlier, the government did try to, again, bear some of the losses by slashing the excise duty on petrol and diesel on 27th of March. Otherwise, the hike would have been much higher. The first hike I'm talking about of petrol and diesel. So, clearly, and, I would like to go back to the point that Professor Santosh Mehrotra was making earlier, that the government should not have really increased the prices of diesel. The point is both petrol as well as diesel, their prices are deregulated. So the government cannot really control the prices. They are linked to the market. It is on the oil marketing companies to take a decision. If for them buying, oil is getting expensive, then they will pass on the burden to the consumers. They managed to keep the prices steady for 11 weeks in a row. But beyond that, it is unsustainable because, it is linked to the market. So it's not that the oil marketing companies are going to be bearing the losses for a very long time. And that's exactly what has happened right now. And like we've been saying, the government was preparing the people of this country. And if you see the reactions that we've got from people as well, most of them seem to suggest that, yes, we knew this was going to happen. We were prepared for it. But what is important to understand is that there is no supply issue. There is no rationing of the fuel that's going to happen. The prices have gone up because there is some crisis that's going on in the Middle East, because the Brent crude prices have gone up in the global energy market. It is getting expensive for us to buy oil. And that is the reason why for us at pumps as well, buying petrol and diesel is going to cost more. It has a direct impact on, the cost of transportation and a direct impact on inflation. Inflation that already has started spiraling northward. So it's clearly not a good news for the Aam Aadmi, but that's how the situation is right now. And it's not just India that is bearing the brunt.
Yes.
It is something that every country in the world is facing, especially the oil importing country in the world. And India can't be isolated in a situation like this. So people are prepared, but we'll have to now wait and see how much will the fuel prices go up in the near future, because this is just the beginning. 3 rupee hike that we've seen today is just the beginning after a gap of about 4 long years.
All right, but Hina, what the oil companies that they have been also stressing that this move seems to be a partial, pass through, and that they continue to absorb a portion of the cost, so that they can reduce the sudden shock to the consumers. I believe we'll listen in once again to the Union Petroleum Minister, because this is when the crisis began, there were concerns, but however, the government in a way has managed to convert the challenge into an opportunity. Let's listen into what he said.
Let me tell you categorically, we have no supply side problems. Today, the country has more than enough stocks of crude oil, LNG and LPG. We have ramped up our domestic production of LPG, which used to be 36,000 metric tons per day. We have now taken it up to 54,000 metric tons per day. And also, be very clear that this prolongation of this is creating a fiscal strain. My oil companies are losing 1,000 crores a day. Their under recoveries are in the tune of nearly 1,98,000.
All right, that is coming in from the Petroleum Minister himself, saying that we have ramped up our domestic production of LPG, which used to be around 36,000 metric tons per day. It has now gone up to 54,000 metric tons per day. The consumers, however, they have been saying, Hina, because they have to buy fuel out of necessity, even if the prices are increased. But however, they have been saying that higher fuel costs would severely also affect the middle class household, because as far as the salaried income is now concerned, there has been no hike in that.
Naturally, what we have seen happen today, the increase in petrol and diesel prices will definitely impact the monthly budget of the Aam Aadmi. And that is the reason why an appeal was also made by the Prime Minister to reduce fuel consumption, because there is no other way to really deal with this situation. Like I explained to you earlier, that it is a global issue that we are dealing with. It's not something that India has created on its own. Because of what's happening in the Middle East, the prices of crude oil prices have gone up. As a result, the oil marketing companies, for them, buying crude is getting expensive.
So I believe we'll get some political reactions to this, because that has already started to come in on social media as far as reactions from political parties. Mr. Manav Jaiswal is also connected with us. Manav, what is your point of view? The government, in a way, however, has been protecting the people so far. But today, this morning, we're getting the news of petrol and diesel and CNG prices being hiked.
I'm really sorry to state the word that you used, that the government is protecting the people. Definitely not. The government is protecting Mr. Narendra Modi. The government is protecting this failed government. Government is not protecting the people of the country. If that had been so, government has increased the import, and that is from America. They're getting dictate from the American president. Is this how the government of India runs? When we had a beautiful relationship and a healthy economical relationship with Iran, even with Russia, what has the government done? So far, so henceforth, government is a failed government. They are protecting Mr. Narendra Modi and the petroleum minister. They should first resign. This is how you will be protecting the country.
How would you explain, as far as the shock on the fuel prices is concerned, so far that has not happened? Earlier that should have actually happened. Are you now correlating everything which is now happening in the Middle East, and that sole responsibility should be taken up by the government of India? Is that in our control?
Of course, it has been in our control. You have been buying oil from Iran for many, many years. Iran has been the most friendly nation in the entire world, which kept around more than 60,000 crore rupees in the Indian banks. That is how Iran has supported our country for so far. What has the government done? Is the Epstein file which is working with the government? Is the Epstein file which is helping protecting this government? Is the Epstein file is what the government will be doing? So we have to come to the
all of that,
reality.
Mr. Manav, really related to what has happened today. I mean, I believe if you understand a little bit of economics and how the oil market really functions, I'm sure you will not say something like this, because there is something that's happening in the Middle East. And if every oil importing country is suffering today, why do you think then questions should be raised on the policy, strategy of the government?
You can have a beautiful statement or probably a speech, but you have to realize for the last 12 years...
I'm not giving any beautiful statement. I'm just stating facts here. I want to understand from you. One second. Mr. Manav, 1 second. One, global crude oil prices are increasing.
What has been the average purchase per barrel for this country, for our country? Answer to the nation. Times now is responsible. You have to answer to the nation how this government has manipulated the prices of the retail oil. What has been the average purchase? Why we not buying from Iran? Why are we listening to Donald Trump? Is the Epstein file which is helping Donald Trump dictate our country?
Well, it seems that politics cannot be kept aside from this issue, because this is something which actually drive when it comes to the economic factors there. So let's keep people aware on the facts that are now coming in. Thank you very much, Mr. Jaiswal, for joining in. What the government has been saying, as far as the government having adequate stocks of crude oil, LPG and natural gas, even as oil companies have taken a massive hit. And this is the reaction that came in from the petroleum minister himself. These are facts that are being laid on the table. Yes, there is a conflict going on. And yes, because of the conflict, we are looking at global consequences of fuel hike, of hike in other essential amenities that is also concerned. But ever since then, majority of the kind of impact that should have actually happened way before, till the time we are now looking, almost 2 months after, 2.5 months into the conflict. Now is the time we're looking at this modest expected hike. Yes, it will affect the wallets. It will affect when it comes to your household items as well, transportation, logistics. Yes, but this is something that the government has been preparing the consumers. Hina, we'll leave it to that. Thank you very much for joining in. We're going to head into a very short break. You're watching Times Now. Non-stop updates continue.